Because she takes a
and the
criminal
high
enterprise,
rankings that
and
the
so many
Clinton
people know it.
Clinton Foundation
It's a
have gotten
criminal
for their work.
enterprise. Saudi Arabia giving $25 million, Qatar, all of these countries. You talk about women and women's rights?
Well,
because she takes a tremendous amount of money, and you take a look at the people of Haiti. I was in Little Haiti the other day in Florida, and I want to tell you, they hate the Clintons because what's happened in Haiti with the Clinton Foundation is a disgrace. And you know it, and they know it, and everybody knows
Secretary.
Well,
on this episode of Just Informed Talk, Q told us in previous posts to expect something biblical coming up, and I suspect we're going to get more coming out from this Epstein case. How does it relate to the Vatican? How does it relate to human trafficking? How is it all connected? Well, you guys are going to want to stick around to check out that and a whole lot more. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always begin, as you all know, by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. Okay, today, we're picking up right where we left off. We left off at Q post 3570, and look, there is a lot of stories. There are a lot of stories coming out today, and here is where we are at. We've yet to have a new Q post because the 8chan boards are down. That's where Q posts. It's an anonymous message board called 8chan. If you guys don't know, if you do, then you'll know that the board has been taken down voluntarily by the website owner, Jim Watkins. And now the latest thing I'm hearing is he is scheduled to be testifying in front of Congress sometime in September, and that's when he plans to bring the website back online. So we may not be hearing from Q for a while, but those things can change, and I just heard that from a source who is close to the issue right now. But we're waiting for the board to come back up, but in the meantime, we have more than enough in what we've been given as far as future proving past with what Q has given us in past drops and the news that is breaking today. First of all, we have the Project Veritas story, which we're going to cover. Incredible stuff. It shows algorithmic discrimination. It shows how they work behind the scenes to suppress content and to get into things that I can't even explain how disgusting and creepy they are, as far as doing psychological studies on how the manipulation of algorithms affects people so that they can tweak their suppression to get people not to care what's happening. And that's just one example of many that we're going to get into here with a whole lot of other news stories. But before we do that, I always want to encourage everyone to come back here, watch these last videos, share them on your social media. Like I always say, guys, look, you know the deal. We're going to talk about it here on this episode. I have all the documents. Project Veritas put out a huge document dump, gigabytes worth of data. And that information we're going to talk about it all here on this episode. Plus, we're going to talk about what has come out today with this whole story. But look, you guys have to help spread this on your social media. Get the word out. Hit that share button. Go down the bottom of this video. Hit the share button. If you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon? What's this guy talking about? Please watch this video. What's QAnon, the Great Awakening? And guess what? I made this over a year ago. And some of the things in there are some of the main headlines on today's news. So that's just to give you an idea of how accurate Q is from all the way back then. Things that we're talking about now, especially with regard to Jeffrey Epstein, the Clintons, and everything else, are coming out now today. So with that in mind, let's just get right into the first story. So we're going to get through some news stories, and then we're going to cover some of the bigger stories, and that's pretty much what we're going to do here on this episode. So first of all, this just is to give you an idea of how tolerant and wonderful the left is. This CNN quote-unquote journalist, fake news reporter April Ryan, was giving a speech in New Brunswick, and it was a part of some conference. And okay, nobody really cares, right? Maybe 30 or 40 people there to watch. I don't know the crowd size, but I'm just guessing. And to me, it's hilarious. So there was a reporter from the New Brunswick Times or whatever, one of the newspapers there, who was invited to cover this event by the people running it. And he's there with his camera. And this April Ryan lady is such a tolerant and proponent of free speech. I mean, she won. Don't forget, she won the Freedom of Speech Award. So, she's definitely all about freedom of speech. Well, apparently not so much. One of her bodyguards started harassing this journalist, and then they rip his camera away and they march out of the building because she says that her speeches are not on the news. No news people cover her speeches. That was her cover for why she had this reporter removed. The reality is that she just didn't want to have anybody see what they say behind closed doors. And that is very, very obvious that a practice that's been going on since the beginning of time. These people, they'll say one thing behind closed doors and a whole other thing in public. But it's getting to the point now where they're basically saying exactly the same things they're saying behind closed doors in public. So there's not much of a difference there. Here's another story I have to talk about. This is strange stuff to me. There's this teen girl. You guys probably know her if you've been following this, Greta Thunberg, especially if you're over in the UK. This little girl has been turned into a human prop. She's been being, basically brainwashed and used by these big corporate interests and government interests, NGOs that are trying to get her to push the climate change narrative and to push that climate change is real and that it's coming for all of us and that we're not going to be alive in 10 years if we don't do something. Now, I don't blame this girl, of course, but because I think she's just brainwashed, and that the people who are brainwashing her, I mean, if they told a kid at, an impressionable age, like, 14, 15, 16, that the world's going to end when they're 28, then yeah, they're going to think it's an important issue that they have to cover, when in reality, we know that every prediction made by Al Gore was basically wrong. Well, I just think it's really weird that this 16-year-old girl, who is a girl by all measures of the standard, is still a child, in my opinion, is going, and she's against flying in planes, right? Because they make too much carbon emission, right? So she's gotten onto this racing yacht to take a 2-week trip over to New York City for a climate change summit, right? But what's strange is that she's on this boat with the princes of, the royal family from Monaco, I think, or something. And there's no toilets and there's no shower. And you're talking about a 16-year-old girl with a bunch of men, presumably, surely some women there. But for a 2-week trip with no bathroom, no toilet or shower, what are they going to do? Go in the ocean? I mean, I'm just having to think out loud here and say, when I read this story, I had to take a double take and go, this poor girl. I mean, we talk about this all the time here on the channel about these children who get, taken advantage of, abused. I think this is a form of abuse. You're putting this poor girl on a 2-week boat trip with no toilet, no shower, with a bunch of weird, strange old men. Somebody needs to look further into this, okay? That's all I'm saying, all right? Here's another sad story. We just did a report yesterday talking about another New York Police Department suicide. Now we have, I believe, another one here. And, I reported on this story yesterday about this NYPD officer who took his own life, Johnny Rios. And now today we have another New York police officer taking his own life. And I'm telling you, there is something very suspicious with this string and slew of suicides by NYPD officers, especially when you think about this. I'd heard through my sources, basically, that there were multiple NYPD officers who viewed the files on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Some of those files allegedly contain some really disturbing, sick and twisted things, including blackmail information and other very compromising images and videos, but allegedly. Now, the fact that we are getting all this Epstein's committed suicide in jail, now all these people are committing suicide, there is something very, very wrong with this whole picture. And I think we need to continue to shine a light on it. And I pray for the families of these individuals, but I also pray that the FBI and other law enforcement agencies, including the DOJ in our country, will step forward and find out what is happening here. Okay? Because whatever it is sick and disgusting and twisted. And there's a lot of evil out there. Now is a story we're going to get into talking about what I've been saying has been happening the whole time here at Google. Now, yesterday's video was very interesting to me because I've been in this weird phase ever since the Huffington Post wrote a hit piece about me, and then Google went and hit my channel behind the scenes. And then yesterday was the first monetized video I've had in, who knows how long, almost a month. And not that it was really that much to begin with before that. But what's interesting here is that this Google engineer has done this huge document dump that shows exactly, without a question of without a reasonable doubt, that they are manipulating the algorithms to discriminate. I have the proof. I've downloaded all the files. I can tell you right now that I have everything from that dump, and it's all here to be studied and looked at. I've been going through it very, very closely. Now, what you'll see is that the machine learning fairness is what he talks about a lot in this video, but it's basically, the whole video is him saying, look, we know based on the documents that we have that everything that the Google execs and the YouTube execs and all these people are telling the people on Capitol Hill are lies. They are manipulating the algorithms behind the scenes, secretly tilting it against those who don't favor their political views. So this gets into all types of really serious violations of the law. With regard to in-kind donations, and as far as campaign finance laws go, you can't give millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of free services to the political party which you favor, while at the same time working against the political party that is standing in opposition to what you are trying to push as your agenda. This insider, Zachary Voorhees, has had an incredible journey. Apparently, he came out back in July with Project Veritas, and during that time period, Google did everything they could to intimidate him. They sent threatening letters to him. They sent the FBI and the San Francisco Police Department to his house, where they pulled him out at gunpoint, where there's video of that. And right here, you could see he was pulled out at gunpoint in what they call a quote-unquote wellness check. So these big tech companies are trying to portray him as some lunatic. For what? For telling the truth about how Google and YouTube are so corrupt that it stinks to high heaven. And I only get upset about this because this is something that we've been talking about here on the channel for I don't even know how long, because it's obvious. I didn't need him to come forward to tell me this to know what was happening. I could see the analytics. I saw the numbers. I saw the press releases. I read what they were planning to do. They said they were going to do it, and they did it. First they took you out of suggested videos, then they put you on a list, right? Well, guess what? This is the list right here. This is their big list. It's the YouTube controversial Twiddler query blacklist. So if you put in any of these terms, these queries in this file, will force the controversial twiddler to be triggered. So a part of their algorithm will be triggered, which puts your content in a different category and subtly and subliminally manipulates the way that search algorithms work and the way all of the systems that make YouTube work and Google work in order to suppress this content. And guess what I found, ladies and gentlemen? Of course, the phrase QAnon is right here in the middle, along with some really disturbing stuff. Everything from Stephen Paddock and what was happening in the Las Vegas shooting to the subway bomber to all these obviously there's porn. And it's funny that QAnon and everything we get in all this, because when people ask questions about events that happen in this country, we're put on a special list, right? With what? With pornography, with disgusting search terms that to me is just, it's incredible to see this. But you look at it, and every frame that you can get in here. But I want to point out this one at the end, which I thought was interesting. It's got Pizzagate and Anthony Bourdain and Tommy Robinson, and obviously Tom Watson Robinson. It's all these different terms for Paul Joseph Watson and Tommy Robinson, Kate Spade, Tony Bourdain, and all of that. When I was reading through that, I just kept thinking, oh man. And then I saw this. Look at how many terms here are about abortion. So they're censoring the content for people who just want to talk about the right to life, you know, or being pro-life. And of course, you know, you can go through this and it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. You know, these are the kind of categories that I mean, this is their obvious political bias written into the algorithm that is being exerted across the globe. And I think it's incredible that this is allowed to happen. And then it gets into sex stuff and porn terms and all types of sick, weird stuff. But look, all I'm saying is there is a lot here, and you can get all of this information. I'll leave a link to this link, which is on the Project Veritas site. And if you guys haven't already, come here and download all of these documents, because look, Q told us to archive everything, and this definitely would fall under that category, in my opinion. One thing I did want to take one quick look at was this right here with regard to this image. This is just one example of a slide that they took, that this whistleblower took a picture of. And here you go. Lo and behold, they are actually using humans to rate these news organizations. And the raters are putting ABC News and the fake news ahead of everyone else. Breitbart's down here. And then, of course, you have Alex Jones and the Next News Network, which are both have negative ratings. So just remember this. And Huffington Post is authoritarian. The Young Turks. It's all fixed. Everything they told you about how they do it behind the scenes is a lie. They're trying to intimidate their employees into silence. They're manipulating the algorithms now to try to cover their tracks. But we have the evidence, and I have it all stored. And you know what? All I'm going to say is that if this ever had to go to court someday, which I hope we don't ever have to do that, but you never know. We now have all the evidence to prove our case that this is happening. Right? So maybe this will push YouTube and Google to do the right thing and stop using their political bias to manipulate their algorithms and their search functionality subliminally to deceive the American people. But maybe that's too much to ask. Maybe we will have to go to court with that. FBI indifferent to possible China hack of Hillary Clinton's server. State Department downgraded classified material found on server to protect her. Great. I'm so glad that her and her private server, where she allowed all of that information to be given to the Chinese and then possibly to be taking money in exchange for that. I'm glad that the FBI helped her to cover up that crime. That's great. We're really doing a great job there, boys. Former FBI. That's why everyone in the FBI at the top levels were basically fired or removed. So just remember that. And of course, Nellie Ohr, as we know, Q has told us in the past, but now future again is proving past as it's coming out that she was the one, as we had speculated about many, many times here before, funneling information about the Steele dossier to her husband, who was then funneling it into the DOJ and the FBI. And guess what? We all know that Nellie Ohr was a product of the farm. Why would you need to learn Russian, Nellie Ohr? Possibly because you were working as a clown. And then you were funneling your clown fake hoax information to your clown husband, who was giving it to the clowns running the DOJ and the FBI. Great. Good. I'm glad we're all on the same page. Now, let's get into one of the bigger stories coming out here. Apparently, here's one that just broke. Talking about Epstein traveling to Cuba at Castro's invitation. Let me ask you this. Does that make perfect sense that a guy like Epstein was invited down to communist Cuba to hang out with Fidel Castro? No, it doesn't. It makes perfect sense to me. And it's another example of how this guy has basically connections everywhere. The most powerful people in the world. This was one I just read. It was Jeffrey Epstein's last words to his lawyer before his jailhouse death. Was like really positive, saying, "I'll see you Sunday." Oh, that's what his lawyers are saying. So I don't know. I think he was, according to this article, he was positive because he was convinced that the judge was going to throw out the case because of double jeopardy law. Double jeopardy meaning you can't be tried for the same crime twice. So this was really, well, you can't be tried and convicted for the same crime twice, I guess would be the better way to put it. But I don't know. It's hard to tell what's disinformation, what's real at this point. They found Ghislaine Maxwell, and it's going to be pretty surprising, I guess, to most people where she's at. And for most people, it won't be, I guess, but to a lot of people, it will. Apparently, Ghislaine has been found. Well, where has she been found? Well, she's at the home of this tech millionaire's, this $3 million mansion in Massachusetts by the sea. And it's owned by this guy who is a former member of an acting member of the Council on Foreign Relations. His name is Scott Borgerson. He's the tech CEO. And it makes perfect sense. This guy's in charge of the technology behind tracking shipping containers. Shipping containers. Do you guys get it? How would you traffic humans from place to place in shipping containers on shipping vessels? That's how a lot of human trafficking in the modern day slave trade is secretly run. So this guy is the perfect person for Ghislaine Maxwell to be hanging out with. So I just thought that was really interesting. And here's the tweet about it. But he is obviously a CEO of a big tech company that tracks shipping containers, like I said. Here, though, I mean, you to connect the dots here, you just have to think to yourself, Ghislaine Maxwell, the former madam for Jeffrey Epstein, an accused alleged procurer of underage women for elites and global CEOs and celebrities and whoever. Now she's with this guy. This guy must be like a Bond villain. That's my guess at this point, is that this guy's basically a Bond villain. Here's a very disturbing story. There was a painting found in Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan home that was of Bill Clinton in Monica Lewinsky's dress with red high heels in the White House Oval Office. I mean, I threw up a little bit when I first saw this. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. But besides that, the red shoes stand out to me. We talk about that a lot here on the channel, Red Shoes Club. And this was a story that obviously broke. And apparently it's a real story. I don't know what to make of that. I'm going to have to look in the comments to see what you guys think of that. That's just disgusting and weird. But there's definitely, to me, the one thing that I did think is, think about why Jeffrey Epstein would have this picture. It's all about power. To him, that this painting, I would imagine, represented his power and control over Bill Clinton, knowing who he really is, right? As opposed to what the public sees him as this presidential figure who's respectable. But I think that Jeff, behind the scenes, felt this way about Clinton as he was just another fallible person to be extorted and blackmailed, in my opinion, right? So, of course, finally, the autopsy has found that there were broken bones in Epstein's neck, and a lot of doctors have come out and said, basically, look, the bones that were broken can be broken during some sort of suicide by hanging, but in most cases, that the particular bone that was broken, which was called the hyoid bone, or the Adam's apple in men, is most commonly broken in homicide by asphyxiation or strangulation. So that, I mean, I'm just saying, there's more to that story than I think anybody wants to really admit at this point. Now, finally, this was a post we got from Q back on July 30th, right before Q went dark, that gave us this Twitter post from the Pope saying, "Let us pray that the Lord will free the victims of human trafficking and help us to respond actively to the cry for help of so many of our brothers and sisters who are deprived of their dignity and freedom. Hashtag end human trafficking." And Q says, Godfather 3, it's going to be biblical. Q. So, first of all, Godfather 3, the whole story, if you rewatch the film, is about people who are, it's the Corleone crime family, and they're trying to take all of this money, I guess, that they've made through these illegal ventures and to launder it and then put it into businesses so that they can somehow become clean. That's what the main theme of the movie is, and that they were using the Vatican to get this done, and that the Vatican was working with them, a lot of corrupt individuals. So remember this. that is something that we're going to see continue to build. And this is a story I think that's really important that came out today. So this individual right here has come forward with an incredible set of allegations against the Catholic Church. The lawsuit is being filed against the Archdiocese of New York. And what they're alleging is that some of the top cardinals and officials were complicit in covering up the sexual abuse of this man who was at the time a boy. Now, what he alleges is that when he was a boy, Cardinal McCarrick, one of the top cardinals in the Catholic Church, was habitually sexually and physically abusing him as a child, taking him all over the world and abusing him. And that they even claim that this child claims, or this man now, obviously when he was abused, he was a child, claims that he was taken by the cardinal to Pope John Paul II. And when he saw and met Pope John Paul II, he said he confessed that everything that was happening and that nothing was done to stop the abuse. And that's what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. We're up against a culture that has built this kind of sexual deviancy, sexual immorality into the highest levels of the top organizations in the world, including places like the Catholic Church, where it's been a culture of silence, a culture of blackmail, a culture of extortion, and we're putting an end to it. And we're going to do that very, very soon. And that's what I think Q is saying with The Godfather 3. So perhaps in a day or two, we may see a major news story about a very, very big case coming against the Catholic Church. But that's just speculation from yours truly here. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember, if you haven't, come here, watch these videos, share them. Also, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And make sure you leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about everything that we covered here on this channel. Also, don't forget to go download the Brave browser. Do you have Google Chrome? Do you have Windows Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox or any of those internet browsers? And you get bombarded constantly by internet ads? Well, the Brave browser is the answer. You download this using the link in the description of this video. And once you do, you install it and run it just as you would Google Chrome or any other internet browser. But the big difference is that Brave browser will actually block the ads and will make your internet experience that much more enjoyable. So there's basically there's a win-win situation here. You can download a browser that'll block ads and make your internet experience that much better. And when you do, the Brave browser company will support the channel. And every time you visit my YouTube channel, the Brave browser will actually make a contribution to my channel. So this is a win-win. I encourage everyone to download it and make sure you check it out in the description. Also, don't forget to come over here and check out JUSTINFORMED U on Twitter, the official JUSTINFORMED Talk Twitter page. We can have a conversation. I enjoy talking to you guys over here, so it's a great way to connect. Also, check out JUSTINFORMEDNews.com, the official website for JUSTINFORMED Talk. Links to the Q stuff, different news sites, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. So check that out, JUSTINFORMEDNews.com. A couple other ways you can help out are both financial, Patreon, Patreon.com. Crowdfunding website. You guys support this channel and this content. At this point, we know what's happening with YouTube. They've come after the channel. They've demonetized everything, including what they, have said they do. And the reality is I depend on you guys for your support to keep this channel alive. So come here, click this button, become a patron. It's a crowdfunding website, a monthly donation. Set it and forget it. And know you're helping create content. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, your contributions help keep this channel alive. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today, I want to read a very short verse out of the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 19 through 21. And this talks about everything that we're covering here today and the evil that exists all around us. It says, "For it is written, vengeance belongs to me, I will repay, says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For in so doing, you will be heaping fiery coals on his head. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good." So that's the message I want you all to take away from this. Don't become bitter. don't become angry or upset and think, why does this happen? And why are these things the way they are? Just remember, vengeance is the Lord's. Our job, as it says here, is to be kind to our enemy. As it says, in doing so, we're heaping fiery coals on their heads. And they don't even realize it. Because if we engage in evil to fight evil, evil will conquer our souls. But if we can conquer evil with good, then that's how we live a righteous life. And that's my call to action for you guys. To conquer the evil that we're facing here every day with good. Go out in your community, do acts of community service, help those in need, do volunteer work with your church, help your family, just be there for your family, be there for your friends or your coworkers. Just be righteous and live for God. That's what we're called to do, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode. Remember, come here, click the big red subscribe button. If you haven't, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and hit it, bop it, headbutt it, elbow it, knee it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.